When there's too much emotion flying around, serious political analysis, serious analysis of the situation, and analyzing the things that are really terribly important becomes impossible. Okay? Now we know that the man of the moment is Professor Kithure Kindiki, who was sworn in as Kenya's third deputy president under the new 2010 constitution, and as the 13th person in the history of Kenya to hold the post of second in command of the country called Kenya. It was a strange swearing-in ceremony where we were treated to a return to the Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi songs. I am avoiding saying patriotic songs, which had a very interesting reaction from a cross-section of Kenyans. Naturally, as older Kenyans, a chill went down our spine as we remembered the Moi days. But then, to be honest, some of us paused to tell ourselves that even those dark days were not as bad as the Ruto days that we are now going through. Mercifully, a very interesting group were enjoying the music and were even doing a jig, including the US envoy to Kenya, Meg Whitman, and some politicians from Bonde la Ufa, the Rift Valley. But I dare add, some of these very powerful politicians in Kenya today looked a little nervous, if you care to try and read their body language, which immediately raised the question in my curious mind: why? What are they nervous about? Why are they not happy when they should be very, very happy? Because most of them, their lives have changed tremendously since August 2022. Anyway, let us cut to the chase by asking the important questions so that we analyze only the terribly important things behind the Kithure Kindiki very sudden swearing in as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And the first question I want to ask is, how did the government pull it off? How? Because that is without doubt a very important question. We will also ask and answer other critically important questions, ending with a very, very big one, which is, what does the government not want you to ever know about this appointment of Kithure Kindiki as Deputy President and how it fits into their plans going forward? What is it that they don't want us to ever know? Okay? That is the question we will end this show with. Right, let's get cracking. If there's one thing we can be very, very sure about, then it is the following. And that is, plenty went down behind the scenes. There was a lot of devious planning and scheming and plotting behind the scenes in the run-up to the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. It was a major fix-it operation. Fix what? Fix the major blunder that started with the impeachment of the immediate former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, which went all wrong in so many places. And of course fix the initially botched swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. Okay? All this in correcting the major goof by a very powerful person deep inside the Ruto administration. And by the way, that man has not been fired, and he will never be fired. And I have a super fascinating special report, which some of us have already taken in, and will understand totally what I'm saying. And those who have not taken it in yet, it is almost off the table, because of its highly sensitive nature. It explains everything. All this was to fix the mistake made by this man, who is too powerful to be fired. And I'm afraid here there are so many questions, indeed more questions than answers, over what really went down. For instance, why did the judiciary very suddenly lift the orders, conservatory orders, that had stopped the swearing in of Professor Kindiki? Why? What changed? And then the reason given. Continuity of the office of the Deputy President, which clearly supersedes what our Constitution says. So, in my interpretation, continuity of office of the Deputy President can be more important, and in this case has become more important, than following our Constitution. And then the chain of events that followed, that clearly told anybody who cared to be half observant that all this was very carefully choreographed. From here we move to there. After you take this dance step, you move to the next dance step, and then music from that corner, and then somebody else enters from that corner, somebody exits the stage from there, etc., etc. Public holiday announced for the next day after 7 p.m. The day when Kithure Kindiki was going to be sworn in. Unprecedented. It has never happened before. Just think about it. How many key, vital, important deals had to be cancelled? How many people right across the country do you think burned their fuel to go for an appointment that had been cancelled actually by the government at night, and maybe they missed that news item? How many? How many Kenyans got frustrated? Think about it. A lot of food for thought right there. And then my next question. And here I have to warn you. The answer to this question will surprise most of us. Indeed, it may not make sense. Why was it so important for the Ruto regime to hurriedly swear in, to ensure that they swore in the brand new Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki? What is it? What is the issue here? Is it political? Is it something that is going to happen in the future that we don't know about? And it is terribly important that Kithure Kindiki is in office? What is it? Because in politics, under normal circumstances, with a normal regime, when you make a political mistake, you correct it politically. What do I mean? We know that the Mount Kenya folks are very pissed off. Okay? And therefore, a political solution to this problem would have been, at the very least, to let things cool off. But then what happened? The whole thing was speeded up. It was as if it was very important to provoke those Kenyan supporters of Gachagua. Tell them, we are powerful and we can do anything we want. Mtadu? What can you do? We will still do it, whether you like it or not. Which even in a corporate setting, is not a wise move to make, because you're dealing with human nature. You're dealing with humans. And this thing called a human being is capable is capable of many things. And the backlash you can get in a corporate setting can finish your company. But imagine this is politics. Imagine this is politics. Indeed, I believe I've said the same thing here on this channel before. Indeed, this government clearly, in many of the decisions, are not in politics. This thing is what Gachagua told us a long time ago. It is a thing of shareholders, a few select shareholders. It is not politics. Even if you look at the following, the support base of Kithure Kindiki, it is minimal. It is not the kind of support base that will help a government that is sinking. Because, for instance, the total number of registered voters in Meru County, where the good professor comes from, gives you the kind of number that you'll easily get from a handful of polling stations in one county called Kiambu. And therefore the short answer to my question is, all this happened to satisfy the ego of the Ruto administration. Now, ego is something very deadly and dangerous in politics, and history will bear me witness. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but the ascension of Kithure Kindiki to the office of Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, even as the court cases remain pending, is significant, and it affects you and I. We cannot run away from it. Let's put the emotions aside for a while. And this should be very obvious. This man is the man who is closest to the throne. If anything happens today, God forbid, then Kithure Kindiki will automatically ascend to the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. And that is why it is too important for us to study and understand the character of Professor Kithure Kindiki. And you know, this has happened before in our history. In 1978, when the then Vice President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi took over office, there were very few Kenyans, including very few journalists, who knew what Moi's character was all about. He was hardly known. The Kiambu Mafia, the powerful wenye nchi at that time, were not interested in knowing Moi's character. To them it was irrelevant. Moi is nothing. Moi will never be president of Kenya. That was the attitude. I beg that we do not make the same mistake. I want us to take in a brief audio clip of the professor speaking after he lost his bid to be William Samoei's running mate for the presidency in the run-up to the 2022 elections. Just listen in.
And I'm not also satisfied with the process that our party followed in identifying the running mate. Secondly, what you have said is true. There was a variety of considerations in this process, including opinion polls in which I led. There were also other considerations, including voting through an electoral college, which I also won. However, God willing, we will have an opportunity for me to make it up to you one day, and that day shall not be too far away.
The professor was really pissed off. He was very angry. And shortly after this, he announced that he would be leaving politics. He would be leaving public office. He would disappear into the horizon, to reorganize his life. But then, after Ruto took power, he was announced the Cabinet Secretary, Interior. And he accepted the position. What does that tell us? What does that tell us about his character? Inaonekana alipembelezwa. Yeah. But you see, the Cabinet Secretary Interior is the most dangerous position to hold in the country called Kenya. By far. Let me explain myself. You see, the problem with this docket is that it carries all the government state secrets. And most of those secrets, they cannot be entrusted onto just anybody. And this is why historically, the person heading the docket, in most instances, has not been the person with the most power. In the days of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, the Cabinet Minister Interior was just a figurehead. The real power was with the Permanent Secretary, a man called Hezekiah Oyugi. Okay? We are told even cabinet ministers used to go and kneel down before him. Please, Bwana Oyugi, please assist us. That is a cabinet secretary. Yeah? Leaning over a junior permanent secretary. And a similar situation in this docket has been replicated right down history. And in case you didn't know, this thing is so serious that some cabinet members heading this docket have lost their lives because they resisted this arrangement. Okay? What happened to Professor George Saitoti? He was Minister of Interior by the time he was involved in a strange helicopter accident over the Gong Hills. Yeah, still has so many questions surrounding it. And even more recently, what happened to Cabinet Secretary Interior Joseph Nkaiseri after he did a wonderful job dealing with the terrorist threat that was threatening to shut down the country at the time? What happened to Nkaiseri later? Yeah, he suddenly died. Cause of death? Heart attack. The fittest CS in cabinet, exercised regularly, former military man, very disciplined, died of a heart attack. Jijazie. And therefore, this is a very dangerous, deadly docket. And the good professor has had more than his fair share of challenges. Everybody still blames him for the abductions and the violent response to protesters who were just exercising their constitutional right to protest, picket, etc., etc. Everybody still blames Kithure Kindiki for that. But please remember, the real power in that docket, you need to look for it. It is never obvious. And in the case of Bwana Kindiki, the real power of that docket, wait for this one, was right inside State House. And more specifically, with an individual who is the subject of my latest highly sensitive special report. That is the man who was calling the shots, and then Professor Kindiki was taking the blame. Yeah, when things go wrong. And this brings us to the bombshell. The reason why Professor Kindiki was preferred, was favored to take over as the next deputy president from Rigathi Gachagua, who had disappointed the powers that be. It is the quality of Professor Kithure Kindiki to look the other way. It is this ability that he has displayed so well and taken the blame and responsibility so well, as others have messed up, that has impressed the power brokers, the powerful within government, so much so that they were very keen to have Kindiki as deputy president, despite the fact that he does not have the numbers in terms of support. they were desperate to have Kindiki take over as deputy president. Because, judging by his past performance, he is exactly what they're looking for. A yes-man deputy president who will support and look the other way and keep his mouth shut. That is really what it is. And that is exactly and precisely what Moi was before he became president of the Republic of Kenya. And in retrospect, we now know that such a person taking over the presidency in the event of something happening is very dangerous. You don't know them. You don't know their real characters. They have a lot of baggage, a lot of revenge missions to undertake, etc., etc. Well, to be fair to Moi, Moi was very forgiving. He forgave most of the people. However, he did not resist the opportunity to put them in their place. You know, in my opinion, it is very important to understand exactly how the Ruto regime works. And you cannot understand how this regime works, as horrifying as it is, the way they work, you cannot understand how they work without understanding the power that is wielded by just one individual who is very close to Ruto, whose decision is final even before he consults with Ruto, whose decision overrules the decisions of other very important office holders in the country called Kenya. You will never understand until you understand about this man and how he operates. And that is why, in my opinion, it is terribly important to get hold of my very latest, highly sensitive special report. Now, we're in Kipindi cha Lala Salama. This particular report I will pull off the table at any moment. And of course, part of the reason is the highly sensitive nature of this particular special report. Indeed, regulars on this channel will remember that I have been very hesitant to even give you details of the contents of this special report. Anyway, if you're in a position to, you can see details on your screens right now. Please rush to avoid being shut out and grab this special report today as soon as possible. For a very, very short time, you can get it for only Kenya shillings 1,999. I highly recommend it. Please go for it. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.